to Beul grew up drawn to the kinds of landscapes most people only admire through screens. Endless pine forests, frozen valleys, and untouched winter wilderness. For him, these places weren't threatening. They were peaceful. On his channel, Storm Outdoorsy, viewers watched him venture deeper into remote environments where silence replaced traffic and where survival relied on experience, not convenience. In late October of 2024, Storm traveled into Swedish Lapland, a region famous for beauty and notorious for violent weather shifts. He planned a solo trek near Jokkmokk, far from towns, roads, and any immediate help. As the day progressed, conditions began to turn. Visibility dropped, daylight faded rapidly, and with his car still a considerable distance away, Storm set up his tent and prepared to sleep in the wilderness, a decision that many seasoned outdoorsmen make to avoid traveling in darkness. But the storm that arrived was not a typical winter front. Overnight, a violent snowstorm consumed the landscape. Winds escalated sharply, eventually reaching speeds reported up to 75 miles per hour, strong enough to tear at tents, flatten snowdrifts, and strip heat from the body with alarming speed. The temperature outside hovered around -6 degrees Celsius, but with the wind factored in, it felt closer to -18 degrees Celsius. Inside his tent, Storm experienced the deterioration firsthand. Snow piled up rapidly, winds battered the shelter, and the temperature inside dropped to levels where the human body begins to lose core heat faster than it can produce it. Sometime during the night, Storm sent messages to his grandmother and a close friend, describing how severe the storm had become. At approximately 2 a.m., he contacted SOS, Sweden's emergency services, reporting that he was injured, likely suffering a broken nose, and that he was struggling to move through the deep snow. Rescue personnel were mobilized, but the weather was unrelenting. Emergency services could not be sent out due to how violent and dangerous the conditions were. Helicopters couldn't fly in 75 miles per hour winds, and ground teams couldn't advance quickly through the blizzard without risking their own safety. Storm's phone eventually lost power or froze, something that happens rapidly in sub-zero temperatures, where batteries shut down far faster than normal. Hours later, when the winds finally weakened enough to allow a helicopter to launch, rescuers searched the area and located Storm's body approximately 1 mile from his campsite. The official cause of death was hypothermia. There was no cinematic ending, no last-second rescue, just silence, and a young man taken by the wilderness he loved and chose to explore. Storm died doing what he was passionate about, immersed in the landscapes that had inspired him his whole life. His death is a sobering reminder that even the most skilled and experienced adventurers can be overwhelmed by the speed and brutality of nature. In extreme cold, survival isn't determined by knowledge alone. It's determined by time, conditions, and circumstance. In Storm's case, the storm was faster, stronger, and more unforgiving than anyone could have anticipated. Jacob Cockle was a filmmaker and YouTuber who had a passion for water, not calm lakes, not gentle rivers, but fast, unpredictable tidal flows. He often recorded these powerful currents near Carnsue Pool in Hela Harbor, Cornwall, a place known for dangerous whirlpools and treacherous undertows. On May 28, 2013, Jacob returned to film the swirling waters, something he had done many times before. But the tide that day was stronger than usual, and the whirlpool currents were fast and relentless.
Oh, that was good. Go around again. That's it. Good. Good, good, good. Yeah, yeah.
While in the water, Jacob was pulled under by the force of the whirlpool. Witnesses and rescuers attempted to help, but the currents were too strong. Tragically, Jacob drowned during the filming session. His death was later confirmed by local authorities, who warned of the dangers of the area. Jacob's final moments were not dramatized or staged. They were simply a reflection of the same passion he had pursued countless times before. The whirlpool he admired and sought to capture on camera ultimately claimed his life. Finn Creaney knew the Scottish Highlands better than most. He knew how to build shelters, identify plants, follow rivers, and move through terrain that would overwhelm an inexperienced hiker within hours. His bushcraft knowledge was real, and so was his respect for nature. On March 25th, 2022, Finn was dropped off near Loch Naver for what should have been a long-distance hike through the rugged northern landscape. His plan was to travel on foot through remote stretches before returning home. It was the kind of trip Finn had done before, and the kind that his viewers admired him for. And then, he vanished. When Finn failed to return, alarms were raised. Authorities launched a massive search effort across the surrounding hills, rivers, and forested valleys. Helicopters swept the area. Mountain rescue teams combed the terrain. Volunteers walked through bogs and ravines, calling his name into the wind. But nature gave nothing back. Days turned to weeks. Weeks turned to months. No equipment, no clothing, no remains, no confirmed sightings, just absence. It was as if the land had quietly absorbed him, leaving only questions behind. To this day, Finn Creaney is officially still missing. For many, the chilling part isn't just his disappearance. It's how someone so knowledgeable, so prepared, and so familiar with the wilderness could vanish without leaving even a fragment behind. James Stobie lived outside the boundaries most people stay within. He didn't travel by road, or by flight, or by train ticket. He traveled by climbing up the sides of freight cars and disappearing down steel tracks that cut through cities and countryside. His videos, posted on his YouTube channel, Hobstobe, showed a world that existed in motion. The rhythm of rail lines, the thunder of metal, the wind ripping past open gaps in train cars.
Might stop at the north siding. This is the siding. He's really going slow. He's going very slow for what you expect on this line. Last time I came through, I was going about 40, 45, 50. Maybe he's going to stop at the north edge of the siding. I don't know.
Train hopping is a subculture built on movement and risk. There are no schedules, no safety rails, no platforms. Just timing, instinct, and luck. On either November 8th or 9th, 2017, James died during one of his journeys, killed in an accident involving a moving train. He was on a railroad bridge in Baltimore, Maryland, when an Amtrak train approached. As he tried to clear the tracks, his backpack became tangled in the passing train. The force dragged him from the bridge, and the injuries he sustained were fatal. Details are sparse, not because the event didn't happen, but because his world wasn't documented by major broadcasters. It was documented by the people who lived it. There were no press conferences, no official documentaries, just sudden silence, and then slowly, the community telling stories of a young man who stepped too far into a lifestyle that rarely leaves room for mistakes. Nature has a peaceful side and a dangerous one. When things go wrong, they change in seconds, and sometimes they cost a life. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe for more.